So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Haduki back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, May 12th here today. Hopefully everybody had a good rest of their day yesterday and is having a good day so far here today. It is in fact Wednesday, May 12th. The schedule for the 2021-2022 NFL season has been partially released. It has been partially released. Week 1, all of the Week 1 NFL games throughout the NFL have been released, and there's been a couple other games that have been announced throughout the NFL schedule. So obviously, I'm super excited. The Jets Week 1 matchup, Giants Week 1 matchup, rest of the NFL Week 1 matchups have been announced. The kickoff game on Thursday night has been announced, which will be the first game of the season. So it's going to be great. I'm super excited. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the I'm ready to see, all that stuff. Obviously, I'm excited for the season. I'm really excited to see, what the Jets have in store with the new coach, new quarterback, and Zach Wilson, and a lot of other young talent on this team. I'm excited to see what we have in store, what we have in store this season in terms of, see how successful we are and see what we can do. So the schedule, schedule is partially released tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be fully released. And we will find out all of the rest of the games, all 18 weeks of the NFL season. So last night, the New York Yankees got a big win against the Rays. We got the job done. We looked good doing it. Judge had a big home run. There was a lot. Judge had a monster home run. There was a lot of good stuff. There was a lot of good stuff in yesterday's game. Definitely was a good win. And I said this yesterday, right? All this stuff about the Rays, I said we got to beat the Rays. We're now finally starting to, look more like the New York Yankees. But I keep on saying, we can beat all these other teams. We got to find a way to beat the Rays because the Rays are the new rival in the division. Now, nothing will top the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. That's one of the greatest rivalries in sports. But now it's really becoming Yankees-Rays are really becoming big rivals. They're becoming big-time rivals against each other. And it's always great whenever you can beat them. And the Yankees got the job done yesterday. We've struggled against them. Obviously, we all know last year, this year so far, so good to get a win and a good way to start this road trip that's coming up for the New York Yankees. So they got the win. Knicks took a loss. In overtime, Nets got the win. Mets got a win on a walk-off. So last night, it was almost like last night, almost all the New York sports teams won. The Yankees won, Mets won, Nets won. All we needed was the New York Knicks to win, and it would have been all the New York sports teams that were playing yesterday would have got the win. Sure enough, they did not win. Knicks lost in overtime, so the Knicks went from being the 4th seed to the 6th seed just like that. So they took a loss, but the Yankees and the Nets both took wins, and that's all that really matters to me, as those are my two favorite teams right now that are in the process of playing their seasons. And then we got news today that the Rangers fired their head coach David Quinn. So that's obviously going to be a topic I'm talking about today. Crazy what has gone on with this organization in the past week and a half here. It's been pretty crazy. We went from, being contenders for the playoffs to now all of a sudden completely almost hitting the restart button a little bit and starting over a little bit. So it's been pretty crazy. It's been a pretty crazy past couple weeks for the New York Rangers. We have fired our head coach. And we decided to move on from him. So there's been a lot of New York sports news, and then we got the NFL schedule on top of that, plus just, all the sports that are happening right now. So a lot to get to, and these are the topics for today. Like I said earlier on to start the podcast, NFL schedule. I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of an update because stuff's flying in. It seems like every so often there's leaks to the schedule. Obviously, every year this happens. The schedule doesn't fully get released until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when everything becomes official. That's when all 32 of the NFL teams see who they will play week by week. And that's when we all find out all the big primetime games. Oh, when will this game happen, right? We always wonder that. Like, oh, you always circle games, and you circle those games on your calendar. And I do it too. Not really, but like, tonight when the schedule comes out, you're going to look over it, and you're going to look at games. Like, wow, this game should be a good one. Like, I'm excited for that game. Like, you're going to look at games, and that's when it all comes out. But week 1 schedule has already been announced. So, we knew that was going to happen today. This morning, CBS gave their TV schedule for week 1, and that's with all those games. And then Fox gave their schedule for week 1 with all their games. So week 1, we have all the games. We know who's playing Thursday night. We know who's playing Sunday night. We know who's playing Monday night. And we know who's playing all those Sunday games from 1 o'clock to the 4 o'clock games Eastern Standard Time. So a lot of games. A lot of exciting games already you could see on the schedule that are going to be good. I mean, the Jets started off with the Carolina Panthers. I mean, that's going to be a heck of a game. Sam Darnold on his team facing up against the Jets, his former team. I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, that Jets-Panthers game week 1. Jets are on the road for that game there. So, and the Jets also get a London game. We play the Falcons week 5. Our bye week is supposed to be week 6. Rumors are going around. A leak has come out that the Jets play the Patriots week 2. We play the Colts week 9. We play the Broncos week 4, I believe, or week 3. So there's been leaks. The Jets schedule's slowly starting to come together. And there's another leak that week 16 we play the Jaguars. And that's home. So a lot of stuff to get to. Involving the scheduling. So I'm going to get into all that to start off the podcast. Then, like I mentioned a little bit ago, Rangers have fired their head coach, David Quinn. No surprise at all, to be honest, that we fired David Quinn. No surprise at all. We obviously all, I think many of us Rangers fans expected it. I've been talking about it for the past week here. I said, watch out for David Quinn. I mean, I literally talked about it, 2 days ago, a couple days ago. I talked about it on Monday. I, talked about Marcus May, then I talked about NHL news, and I mentioned John Tortorella and, Jack Eichel, and, if the Rangers fire head coach David Quinn. And I did say that if the Rangers were going to fire someone, it was going to be on Wednesday. Chris Drury said he was going to have a meeting with his staff and the coaching staff, and he was going to lay out a bunch of plans, and he said whoever he feels is best for the job will get it. And obviously he did not feel that his plan in place, David Quinn, fit it, and they decided to bring in his own guy. He has decided to start over, bring in his own coach, bring in his own guy, and we'll see how it turns out. David Quinn's Rangers 3 years here, not very successful at all. He didn't come here with Stanley Cup aspirations. We did not expect David Quinn to come here and bring a Stanley Cup to the Rangers. No one expected that, but at the same time, he did finish with only 96 wins, a below 500 record, combining the overtime losses. So not a great 3 years for David Quinn. Not terrible, but nothing that we should be proud of, I would say, as Rangers fans. So we'll get into him. And we'll finish off the podcast with the New York sports update. Yankees play today. Matt Harvey returns to New York. He plays the Mets. Today he's on the mound. So he returns. Obviously he's with the Orioles now, so he returns. Matt Harvey returns. Yankees play, obviously. Nets play. Harden's supposed to be back tonight. So slowly Nets are getting healthier. Yankees starting to, heat up a little bit here. Things are starting to take shape and things are starting to get rolling here in the New York sports. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I got. That's what's on top for the podcast here today. Another packed podcast ahead of us. So, with all that being said, this is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So, yeah, every year. Right, and I want to make this clear first. Every year when they announce that there's going to be the schedule, and I have no issue with it. it does sometimes defeat the whole purpose of the show on NFL Network at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And, when you talk on 8 o'clock and, the show that comes on and the big, breaking down each team's schedules and the big reveal, it does take, it kind of deflates it a little bit. Because, now we already know, 3, 4, 5 of the games each team has. And kind of tonight's just putting the cherry on top. So I got to admit, NFL, as much as it's great to learn the schedule, at the same time, it's you got to think that they might want to do a little bit better of a job of maybe keeping it more quiet and kind of just going don't release anything. Just release it right at 8 o'clock. And, release it the night when it's supposed to get released. Because a lot has already gotten released. Week 1 of the NFL season has already been released. There's no questions about it. These are confirmed games. The NFL itself has released the Week 1 schedule. So I'll tell you what, right? We always have those games on our calendar or those days, whatever the case may be. And like I said, I want to get into a bunch of stuff. I'm going to get into really the Week 1 stuff first, and then I kind of want to get into some of these other leaked games. I also want to talk about the Jets-London game, which is going to be interesting. The Jets played back in London in 2015 against the Dolphins. I actually remember that game, so they're going there again to play against the Falcons. And I'm not going to take too much credit for this at all. I'm not going to. But the Jaguars this season have a home game against I play a home game there. I think they play a home game, and the Jaguars will play home to the Dolphins as well, and the Falcons did. And I remember mentioning this when the schedule came out, when the opponents came out, and I heard that one of the Falcons' home games was going to be in London. I said that maybe the Jets play a London game. Now, I did not know if that was going to happen or not. I said it. I did say that there's a possibility. So we are playing a London game against the Falcons. Not going to sit here and be like, oh, I called it. But I do got to admit, when I did hear about the Falcons doing that, I was like, okay, maybe the Jets, one of their games, because I know the Jets played on the road against the Falcons, and the Falcons, that's one of their home games. I said maybe the Jets go play there. So the Jets do play a London game. So the Jets have a London game against the Atlanta Falcons. That is Week 5 of the NFL season, which automatically means that Week 6 will more than likely be our bye week, because the NFL does it if you have an out-of-the-country game where you're traveling out of the country. The next week is usually the bye week. It only makes sense. You're going out of the country, the time change, the long flight, just being on the road in general is tough, let alone doing it outside of the country. They get their bye week, Week 6. Now, that's not official. That's what's more than likely going to happen, because that's usually how the NFL does it, is if you play a game that's out of the United States, you usually get your bye week the next week. So that's not confirmed, but there's a 99% chance the Jets will have their bye week, Week 6. Now, another game that has gotten leaked with the New York Jets was the Week 9 game against the Indianapolis Colts. They will be on the road for that game. That game is expected to be a Thursday night football game. And another game that's supposed to got leaked was Week 16. We are supposed to be home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I'm surprised. If that does hold up, I'm surprised that's the case, because I was expecting the Jets and the Jags to happen earlier in the year, a little Wilson T-Law action, the first 2 overall picks in the draft. I wouldn't have been surprised to see that be like a Week 1, Week 2 game, as a matter of fact, because I've been thinking about this for a while now. I'm like, how great would it be to kick it off, Week 1 of the season, have the first 2 overall picks battle it out, have Lawrence versus Wilson, first 2 overall picks, battle it out Week 1. Week 16, not that the hype's still up there, but by Week 16, we're going to have a good idea of who's in the playoffs and who's not. And either of those players, and we'll already figure out how those each guys are doing. So while the hype is still very high on each of these players, I thought they would maybe put it earlier on in the year. So that's just how it is. And in another leaked game was the Jets-Broncos, which would be Week 3. Jets would be on the road in Denver Week 3. So to be honest, now the Jets have more home games than they do road games this season. But the Jets are on the road Week 1, are on the road Week 3, are on the road Week 5, on the road Week 9. So 4 of the Jets' 5 leaked games this season are on the road. Now, the Patriots' schedule got leaked, their entire schedule, and it had the Patriots traveling to the Jets Week 2. So it looks like the Jets might be their first home game will be against the New England Patriots. But out of all those games, there is one game right now that I circle as the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets, we have not figured out when they play Buffalo, when they play Miami, and, some of the other New England Patriots stuff, right? So we still don't know a lot of the Jets games, right? We still don't. Now, are the Jets going to get a Sunday night game this year? That's my question. The Jets have not had a Sunday night game since 2011. It is now 2021. We have not had a Sunday night game in 10 years, okay? So that's a big question that's got to be asked. Are the Jets going to have a Sunday night football game? I have no clue. I don't know. I don't really know if I can answer that right now. But the one game right now, and I'm going to get to the Giants in a second. The one game right now that you circle as a New York Jets fan is smack dab to start the year, week 1. The New York Jets will travel to the Carolina Panthers in a 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time game on CBS. The New York Jets will play Carolina Panthers. And you might think, why is this game so special? Well, it's going to be Zach Wilson's first game, which is obviously, hopefully, the start of many successful games to come. And it's going to be not only Sam Darnold's first game in a Panthers uniform, it's going to be his first game away from the Jets, and it's going to be his first game against the Jets and his first game as a Panther. So Darnold's first game as a Carolina Panther will be against his former team, the New York Jets. And Zach Wilson's first game as a New York Jet will be up against former Jet quarterback Sam Darnold. So you talk about having adrenaline and a lot of energy early on in the year. You know Darnold's going to want to go off against his former team. And you know the New York Jets, the players that were on the team last year, the Jets it's going to be, it's going to be a fun rival. Not that the Jets hate Darnold, but they're going to want to, Wilson's going to want to go out there and play well and say, hey, this is why you got traded because, that's going to happen. That's going to be the case. Darnold's going to want to go out there and show the Jets that they shouldn't have traded him. And Wilson's going to want to go out there and first off make a good first impression to New York Jets fans because he's the new franchise guy. And second of all, show why, show us why we traded Darnold to get Wilson, right? That's going to be it. So week 1, there's 3 preseason games. You're throwing it right into the fire week 1. There is going to be excellent energy in that game. That game might feel like a very big game, and it's going to be only week 1. So that's game. I'm super excited for that game. I mean, if this game would have happened, I was excited for this game. When I realized when Darnold went to Carolina, it didn't register for a little bit. Then I realized, I think the Jets play Carolina. And sure enough, we do. I was excited for that game to begin with. Now, let alone it's week 1. That's going to be a super exciting game. Now, I am kind of bummed the Jets aren't home week 1 just because there's nothing better, especially in Zach Wilson, starting off your season in front of the home crowd, in your home stadium. There's nothing better. Instead of having to go on the road for game, and the Jets went on the road last year. I feel like the Jets are always on the road for their home games, or for their week 1 games, rather. But, there's nothing like playing your first game of the season in your home building. But I'm not going to complain. We're playing the Carolina Panthers. It's going to be a fun game. I'm excited. So that right there, that's one of those games. Many NFL fans, I would say, and me in general, that's one of those games you got to look forward to. Because that's been one of the hot topics in the entire offseason. What are the Jets going to do with Sam Darnold? And are the Jets going to take Zach Wilson? Both those questions got answered. And Wilson-Darnold will battle it out week 1. And one of those teams will come out of there with a win. Now, unless if it's a tie, but I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't foresee it being a tie. So one of those teams is going to get out of there with a win. And that's going to be fun. That's going to be exciting. Talk about starting off your season. Like, it seems like it's just going to be such a quick start, too. It's going to be like, boom, wow. Like, you're playing I feel like that's going to be a game that's just going to, it's just going to be, crazy. Week 1, sometimes, week 1, the first couple drives, maybe the first quarter or 2, you're still working, out, the rust and stuff like that. You're back in an actual game that counts for the first time in, since the last game you played. Obviously, so sometimes it's a little rusty off the bat. I could see this game having a lot of energy right off the bat, having a lot of hard hitting, having a lot of big plays right off the bat. It is in Carolina. Jets will travel there, but that's still, obviously I would have loved for it to be home, but still creates great excitement from a Jet fan perspective. So the Jets Week 1 matchups against the Carolina Panthers. The Giants Week 1 matchup is against the Denver Broncos. That will be a 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game on Fox. So the New York Giants will open up at home against the Denver Broncos. And this is one of these games, too. You got to sit here and wonder, who are the New York Giants going to play who are the New York Giants going to face week 1? Are they going to face Drew Lock? Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? Are the Broncos going to be able to pull off some crazy trade for Aaron Rodgers? Who's going to be the Broncos quarterback starting that game against the New York Giants? That's a big question. So, yes, the Giants are playing the Broncos. Yes, the Giants are playing a Broncos team that's getting Von Miller back, already got Bradley Chubb and a good secondary, and obviously it will be Daniel Jones' first game with Kenny Golladay as one of his receivers in Barkley's first game back from tearing his ACL. That's a game you got to wonder, who are the Broncos quarterbacks going to be? Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock? Are they going to pull off some crazy trade and get Aaron Rodgers? Who's it going to be? That's a big question that's going to have to be answered before that game obviously gets underway. So that's going to be a fun game. So yes, the Giants are playing the Broncos, and I get that. But who are they playing? Are they going to play Locke? Or are they going to play Bridgewater? Is it going to be Rodgers? Who's going to be lining up under center week 1 for the Denver Broncos? That's a big question. We'll figure it out by then, obviously. Right now, it's still a question, but I'm sure by training camp and obviously practice week, and obviously leading up to that game, it's not going to be, who's going to be the Broncos quarterback? They'll name a starter before that game. But that's something interesting. And, for someone, if you want to predict how the season goes, that's an interesting thing. Because it could very well go either way. If Teddy Bridgewater starts, the Giants might win that game. If Locke starts, it could very well be a different story. So I would like to say this, though. The Jets and the Panthers, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a very good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout in one way or the other. I think it's going to be a close game. And the Giants-Broncos, I believe this is going to be a very defensive game. Both teams got very solid defenses. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. And you could say, if the Giants got weapons, I understand that. But it is week 1. It's going to take some time for Daniel Jones, Kenny Golladay, and those guys around him to really build chemistry in-game. It's going to take about a week or 2. So the Giants might be a little rusty on offense. Who knows who the quarterback is for the Denver Broncos? But then you look at both defenses, and you're talking about Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, and then on the Giants side of the ball, you're talking about James Bradbury and Blake Martinez and Azeez Ojulari and all those good guys, Logan Ryan, all those good guys on that defense. Your new signing and Adoree Jackson. The Giants got a very good defense. So I could very well see that game being a defensive game. On the Jets-Panthers side of the game, I see that as a medium scoring game. Teens to low 20s. Because both teams, the Panthers defense isn't good. The Jets is. But, you got to see how the Jets offense comes out right out of the gate. Are they going to come out fast? Or are they going to come out a little slow? Wilson's still working with some of his wide receivers. That could be one of those games. Week 1, Wilson in his first game with, some of his receivers. It also might be one of those games where you're, still chemistry and still meshing a little bit. That's with every NFL team. But especially with a new quarterback. And the same thing in this case with Darnold. He's obviously, if you look at Darnold here, Darnold's got to look at this year as it's like his rookie year all over again. That's how you got to look at it if you're Sam Darnold. And Wilson, this is your first game. This is as big as it can get. So, let me read the entire Week 1 NFL schedule. So, the Dallas Cowboys open up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That will be the first game of the 2021 NFL season. So, that will be the Thursday night game on NBC. That will be the first game to kick off the 2021 NFL season. And can it get much better than that? The defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers battling it out against the Cowboys, this time with Dak Prescott. We all want to see what Dak can do in his return. Many people want to see what Brady looks like, this year and them bringing back pretty much their same roster. And can they win another one? It all starts in that game. Then you got the Eagles-Falcons. That's on Fox. Then you got the Bills-Steelers. That's on CBS. Then you got the Jets-Panthers, that's on CBS. Bengals-Vikings, that will also be on Fox. Then it's the Lions-49ers, that will be on Fox. Texans-Jaguars, that will be on CBS. Colts-Seahawks, that will be on Fox. Cardinals-Titans will be on CBS. Chargers-Washington will be on CBS. And the 4 o'clock games will be the Browns-Chiefs, which will be on CBS. That's a very exciting game. 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time will be the Dolphins Patriots. That will also be on CBS. And then the two Fox games to close out the day will be the Packers Saints and the Broncos Giants. And in the Sunday Night Football game will be the Bears Rams. And the Monday Night Football game will be the Ravens Raiders. So, there's a lot of good games week one. And there's actually a lot of games on week one that I wouldn't have expected to really open up the season. I think the Browns-Chiefs game is going to be fantastic. I really do. I think that's going to be a good game to watch. Obviously, Jets-Panthers I'm excited for, but that's because I'm a Jets fan. So that you can count, but I am a Jets fan, so I'm always excited for all the Jets games. The Bears-Rams is going to be good because it's going to be Matthew Stafford's first game in a Rams uniform. And it's going to be, who's going to start for the Rams is going to be Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. Trevor Lawrence will make his debut, and that's a very team-friendly debut. He's playing it against Houston Texans, arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's an awesome opportunity to go beat a division opponent week one with Trevor Lawrence. Seahawks Colts will be that will be a pretty good game. I think you could very well see the Seahawks maybe beat that game, but you also got to see how Carson Wentz does. That will be his first game with the Colts. Chargers, Washington. Well, I guess you can kind of look at that game. I think there's a pretty good shot that the Chargers win that game with Justin Herbert and guys like that. Bills, Steelers is going to be, that's going to be the start of, I guess, what a lot of people think is, just like kind of Josh Allen's, another season where Josh Allen's got to prove himself again, right? And a lot of people still want to, know if Josh Allen could keep up what he did last year. What Josh Allen did last season was unbelievable. Can he keep that up? That's one of the big questions. That's going to be a good game. And if I'm remembering correctly, they're not in the same division. I believe the Bills and the Steelers have now played each other 3 years in a row. They played each other in 2019 on the Sunday Night Football. They played each other last year, I believe, on Sunday Night Football. And they're playing each other again this year. Or wait, did they play each other last year? Sunday Night Football. Yeah, Sunday Night Football. And they're playing each other this year, week one of the season. Not Sunday Night Football, but it's week one. So if I'm remembering correctly, I think the Bills have played the Steelers 3 years in a row now. And they're not in the same division. So, many of you could probably care less, but that's interesting. A lot of times you don't see that. Now, the Jets, for example, they played, let me think, what team was it? They played the Broncos last year. They're going to play them again this year. And they're not in the same division either. So you sometimes see that, where you could play two teams in a row. Colts, they played the Colts last year, and they played them on the road, and they're playing them again this year on the road. The Broncos, they played last year home. It was that Thursday night game. They're going to play them on the road this time. So, and the Bills, I believe, were on the road in 2019 against the Steelers, home last year, and they're going to be home this year. So, but hey, the Jets open up on the road against the Panthers. Giants open up at MetLife against the Broncos, and it gets me really excited. You talk about sometimes slow starts and stuff. I believe this Jets-Panthers game is going to be one of these things where both teams are going to be pumped coming right out of the gate. Sam Darnold, he's going to want to prove himself. First off, he's got to show to the Panthers that he can be the guy, because they did go out and trade for him. And you also got to realize that, it's a revamping of his career. This is a big time for Darnold. If he struggles with the Panthers, that's probably it for him. Now, and Wilson too. It's his first impression on the Jets fans. It's going to be his first impression in the NFL. A lot of people are 50-50 on Wilson. A lot of people doubt him. A lot of people think he'll be really good. That will be his first opportunity to make his mark on the NFL. The excitement level in that game is going to be really good. Anytime you get a quarterback playing against its former team is going to be good. You look at the Buccaneers Patriots. That's going to be a week 4 game. I believe that's going to be a Sunday night game. Brady's going to return to Gillette Stadium. He's going to return to New England. It's going to be Brady versus Belichick. That's going to be a very fun game. That might be the best game of the season if the Patriots are competitive. Now, if the Patriots stink, the Buccaneers will blow them out of the water, which I would love that. I would love to see the Patriots stink this season. I hope they stink every year. I hate the Patriots. I can't stand them. But that's going to be a good game too. Brady returning, and then you got, Belichick and him spending all this money. It's going to be like, for the two that spent so much time together throughout the years with the dynasty, for them to play against each other, that also very exciting. So, another thing too that came out was the Giants will play the Chiefs Week 8, which will be Monday Night Football. Now, so far, this is the New York Jets' leaked season so far. Week 1, we're going to be at Carolina. That's confirmed. That is confirmed by the NFL. That will happen. Week 3 will be against the Denver Broncos. That will be away in Denver. Week 5 will be against Atlanta. That will be in London. Week 6 will be a bye week. Week 9 will be against the Colts. That's away at Indianapolis. They're saying that will be a Monday night or Thursday night game. And in Week 16 will be home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have not said if that's going to be a Monday, Thursday, or Sunday night game, or just a regular Sunday game. We'll figure that out tonight. Now, another thing with the Jets schedule, because some of the Patriots schedule got leaked. The Jets supposedly play the Patriots Week 2. But they're home. So the Jets, this is technically how the Jets' first 6 weeks of the season could play out. We could be at Carolina, then we're home against the Patriots, then we're on the road against Denver. Week 4 would be an interesting game, whether we're on the road or home. I would imagine we're going to be home for that game, and I can name a couple reasons. Number 1, it's very rare to see 3 road games in a row in the NFL. Number 2, Week 5 will be the next week. You're going to be traveling to London. I don't know if you're going to be on the road and then be on the road again, on the other side of the, be on the road and then on the road again, except the next week not in the United States. I would assume they would probably be in their home building that week, lay off the travel, and then you make your big trip over to London to play that game. Now, the Jets, to be honest, we have a lot of action in the first 6 weeks. You're on the road, then you're home, then you're on the road, then you're home, then you're on the road, then you have a bye week. So, the Jets for the first 6 weeks of the season have a lot of action. Some teams, they might be home twice, then on the road, and, maybe on the road again, then home twice. They'll have a nice, easy 6 games. The Jets to start the season have plenty of, interesting setups. They're on the road, then they're home, then they're on the road again. Week 4, more than likely they're going to be home. I don't know which team that will be. That could very well be maybe one of an AFC East opponent. And then there'll be Week 5, they'll go to London, which will count as a road game and a home game for the Falcons. And in Week 6, they'll come back and it'd be a bye week. And in Week 7, you do it all over again. So it's going to be an exciting start. The first 6 weeks of the season, the Jets have got a lot of home games. I've got a lot of road games, got a London game, then got a bye week in there. So the Jets got a lot of action to start the year. And, they got to be ready for it. And I believe with, Saleh and them, I think, we'll definitely get a few wins, I think, coming out of those first 6 games. Now, am I saying we're going to go 6-0? Well, they won't play their bye week. So you'd have to go 5 games, and then you have your Week 6 bye week, then Week 7. But, and like I said, tomorrow I'll come out with all my predictions. Or my semi-predictions. It's tough to tell. Because you got to really see how the teams do training camp. And then, leading up to the season, that's when you can really make your big predictions. When all the rosters are set, the depth chart's all ready, then you can really make your predictions. You can make your predictions in May. You could do it now. You could do it tomorrow. But just know, the Jets running back too, who's going to be the Jets running back? That's still a little bit of a question mark. Receivers and offensive linemen, you all want to see how they do together. So then you really can make it. Now, the Giants' leaked schedule so far in 2021 is home against Denver, which will be Week 1. That's confirmed. Then away against Washington, which will be on Thursday Night Football. So the Giants have a quick turnaround Week 1. They play home against Denver, and they get right back at it Thursday against Washington. So the Giants have a quick 2 games to start the year. Then Week 6, they'll be home against the Rams. Week 12, home versus Philly. Week 15, home versus Dallas. And then they'll close out the season. Week 17 will be against Washington. Now, Week 18 was not on here yet. Now, the other weeks, they have been not announced yet or not leaked yet. And then this is the Thanksgiving Day slate. It will be Bears, Lions, Bills, Saints, and Raiders, Cowboys. And like I mentioned as well, Jets will play the Falcons in a London game week 4 of the NFL, week 5 of the NFL season. That will be a 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time game. And in week 6 will be the Jaguars-Dolphins in London. So it'll be a back-to-back. Jets will play week 5. Dolphins, Jags will play week 6 in London. That will be at Tottenham Stadium. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. That will be in London. And the NFL has done these. They did not do it last year, obviously, because of everything going on with the virus. They were not able to do it last year, but they try to do at least 2 games every year. They still try to feel, they still trying their best to get us to try to grow the sport of football and all that stuff, and maybe try to get, a team over there, or at least a league over there or something, or expansion league over there, or a team or whatever. But definitely some lot of good games. I mean, you started off Cowboys, Bucks to start off, then Browns, Chiefs, then Jets, Panthers. It's a lot of good games week 1. And in Sunday Night Football, week 4 will be Brady, Belichick. Doesn't get much better than that. This season, I feel like, and I know some people might say it every year, but this season I feel like it's off to a roaring start. Like, you got a lot of good games. Like, right off the bat, boom, week 5, Jets go to London and play the Falcons. So, a lot of good opportunities. And more than likely, because of the leaks and rumors and insiders, the Jets will play home against the Patriots week 2, which will be Wilson's first game at MetLife and the Jets home opener. So that will be fun. That should be good. You might want to say, you'd rather open it up with an easier team, but I don't think it's terrible to open up against your rival. Wilson's, get Wilson, broken into the Patriots-Jet rivalry. Get him all, get an AFC East matchup in there, because the Jets to start the year, we have a lot of matchups that are not in the AFC East. The Broncos, Falcons, and Panthers, none of them are in the AFC East, so I can definitely see them throwing an AFC East game in there. And week 4, I could definitely see an AFC East matchup in there as well. I would assume that would probably be Buffalo, because that just seems how it always is. And another leak that came out would say the Jets would play week 7 would be against the Patriots, would actually be after their bye week 6. So, so many different games, so many different options. All I know is I'm excited. Now, I know a lot of people might wonder how I feel about the London game. I mean, it's a game. I mean, it's football, so I guess I'm okay with it. I don't think there's really anything better than just playing your home stadium. I know the travel and stuff, and teams have said, not that they don't like it, but teams have said it's tough. You got a long week leading up to it. You got to make that long travel across the water. Then you got to get over there, and you got to make a long travel back. It's a lot. It's a lot to go through. It's a lot of traveling, a lot of, time change, moving, and there's a lot to it. Travel to begin with, a lot. Road games to begin with. And let alone traveling to out of the country to play football games a lot more. So, but hey, as long as the Jets get the win, that's all that matters in my book. So, so those are the NFL schedule updates. Like I mentioned, there's still going to be a lot more. Tonight's when all the schedules come out. So tomorrow we'll find out all 32 schedules for each team, all of each team. Right now we have a good feeling for who's going to play who. A couple weeks here, we know about 4 to 5 Jets games so far, or at least leaked, and then there's some that are already confirmed, and you'll get into some of the other games. So, but some of the highlights so far: Jets play against Carolina. Jets get a London game early in the year too. That's week 5, so definitely early. You would think maybe they would push it back a little later, but that's early. Jets, if the NFL does it like they usually do, they would get a bye week 6, which is early. Because I believe last year the Jets got their bye week week 11. So their bye week was later in the season. So Jets would get theirs earlier, which, like I said, I have no issue with. Now, I'm not a fan of bye weeks. I don't like bye weeks because it means your favorite team doesn't play that week. It means your favorite team doesn't play that week. So sometimes it could be, a little tough, not knowing, what game to see. But I get, if you do have that week 6 bye week and, you do get it out of the way, then you have the rest of the season. You'd have the rest of the season because then, the 18 weeks. So after the week 6 bye week, 5 games in, you would have you would have 12 games to go because, you'd have about 12 games to go to finish out the season. So you would get the London game, then you would get the week 6 bye week, and then you would finish it off with the 12 games to finish off the year. So, but we'll figure it out all tonight. Everything tonight will come out and be all confirmed, and we'll get the full schedule there. But as of right now, it's a lot of exciting games, a lot of definitely a lot of good games. A lot of opportunities for some teams early in the year to make their presence felt and make their marks on the NFL season. So that's the NFL schedule update so far. I also mentioned the Thanksgiving Day games. I believe I did mention the Thanksgiving Day games as well. And tonight we'll also figure out all the primetime and TV spot games. So, are the Jets going to get any primetime games? I know we're going to get probably the Thursday night game against Indianapolis, which would be interesting. And then, also, when do we play all the other AFC's opponents? There's so much other stuff to get to. So, a lot more stuff coming out tonight. And tomorrow I'll talk more about it. So, with that being said, that's what I got for that topic with the NFL schedule. And then coming up next here, we got the Rangers have fired head coach David Quinn. So the New York Rangers have made their decision final. All the rumors, all the talk, all the chatter. The New York Rangers have decided to move on from head coach David Quinn. I will get into this move. I will get into, some of the possibilities of who could be our next coach. And kind of just talk about the New York Rangers situation going in to the 2021 offseason. We'll get into all that stuff coming up next. Alrighty, so we are back here here on the podcast here today. So, so then David Quinn fired as Rangers head coach after 3 seasons with team, and obviously, I've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, a couple days now, mainly recently. I would say more since we've been talking about really the coach's future, David Quinn's future with the New York Rangers since Jeff Gordon and John Davidson got fired. And obviously, this move, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, when I opened up the show, I kind of said this, and when I heard about this today, there was no surprise, to be honest. I wasn't surprised by this move at all. I wasn't surprised that the New York Rangers made this move. Now, this was one of these moves where it's almost like a 50-50, and we see this sometimes in sports where you're 50%, you're kind of one of these moves like you would have been surprised to see him get fired, and you wouldn't have been surprised to see him not get fired. That's how one of these moves could have went. Because I'm not surprised he got fired. Now, I'm also kind of on the standing of if he didn't get fired, I don't think that also would have been very surprising either, because Chris Drury and David Quinn have had a very strong relationship. Now, a lot of times this happens with organizations, and the New York Rangers are doing it right now. When a GM or a president or just the front office gets a little bit of a blowing up, you kind of fire the GM, get rid of the president, get rid of, the assistants and all them. A lot of times GMs that come in, they want to bring in their own coach, right? And that's what Chris Drury's doing here. He wanted to bring in his own coach. David Quinn, he did not hire David Quinn. Jeff Gordon made that decision. He did not hire David Quinn. So he wants to bring in his own coach that he believes is best for the team, that he believes will help the team win games, and that he believes will work best with Chris Drury. So it makes sense why we fired him, because you're getting rid of a coach who, to be honest, hasn't been great with the New York Rangers. Now, when David Quinn got here, did we expect him to be the guy that would hoist up the Stanley Cup and bring another Stanley Cup back to the New York Rangers? No. No one, I don't think, really expected that. And if you did, then your expectations were way too high. Now, the next head coach, I don't know if that's the expectation either, but definitely whoever the next head coach is, the expectation is to get to the playoffs next season, this upcoming year. Okay? So, I think what really finished it off, what really got the job done for David Quinn was the fact that this team looked like they had absolutely no fight to finish out the final 5 games of the year. And I get it, the GM getting fired, I get it, you had all this stuff, and, you had all the off-the-field stuff, and, you're playing tough opponents, and you had a lot of injuries, I get that. But this team did not look like they even wanted to be out there in the final 5 games of the season. And I think a lot of it was because, not that they gave up on David Quinn, but I think with the GM change, with the president change, with the front office change, I think a lot of the players, I think David Quinn himself knew that David Quinn's days were numbered with the New York Rangers. And, his run with the New York Rangers wasn't great. It's not something to be proud of as a Rangers fan, but it's not something to sit here and say, oh, he was so bad. It was about 50-50. I mean, it was more like 60-40, I would say. He had moments. He had this team competing, but there was also moments of, why the heck did we hire this guy? He won 96 games with the New York Rangers. He lost 87. 25 of those losses, he lost 87 in regulation, and so he was over the NHL 500 mark, but then you add the overtime losses in there, and he wasn't very good. So, we hired him in 2018. We got him from Boston University. We obviously, after missing the playoffs for the first time in 2017-2018, we brought in David Quinn. Obviously after Aline Vigneault, we obviously brought in David Quinn, and obviously the New York Rangers really, thought that, with the young team we had, he could do something. And, not that he did terrible with it, but I don't think he did not get the job done that many Rangers fans expected. Now, you could say he had one playoff with us. That was last year's play-in series, and we got swept. I don't really know if I would call that a playoff, though it was because of the bubble and because of COVID and all that stuff. You obviously had to do the play-in series. Now, if COVID never happened, we probably wouldn't have made the playoffs last season. So, I don't really know if you can call that the playoffs. But the issue with David Quinn and the issue with this New York Rangers team was the fact that we're not getting to the playoffs. And the New York Rangers expected, by obviously this year, to make the playoffs. And next season, too. And the issue with David Quinn is I don't think he was the guy that would have been able to lead us to the playoffs. I really don't. Because he's more of a young coach. He's more of a coach that's going to be able to develop young guys. He's not a coach that's always going to get... He's not a coach that's going to, be able to go out there and, win playoff games. He's just not that kind of guy. Now, was he terrible? No. Was he the answer? I don't really think so. And he wasn't really fitting the Rangers' needs. I talked about this yesterday with Ryan Lindgren. The Rangers have had this huge issue with physicality. We need to have more physical players. This team needs to get more physical. David Quinn did not help the physicality aspect of this team. He didn't. This team, a big reason why this team wasn't fighting back, wasn't winning close games, was because of David Quinn. A lot of what he teaches, a lot of what he does isn't really, it's not a lot of physicality stuff. He came from Boston University. He came from teaching a lot of young guys. He came up. He took a young roster, did his best he could with them. It just didn't work out. And that's how I see the run with David Quinn as the New York Rangers. It's not terrible. It's not awful. It's not, don't be mad because it happened. Don't be mad because it happened. Instead, be happy because it's over. It's not one of those. It's kind of just he wasn't the right fit for what the Rangers need. He did what he needed. He did his best. It just didn't work out. That's how I see it. And the New York Rangers will now look to go out and get another coach. And I know a lot of people have strong opinions on who the Rangers' next head coach could be. Could it be the Coyotes' former coach? Could it be Chris Knobloch? Could it be John Tortorella? I know a lot of people might disagree with what I'm about to say, but a coach with that's very physical with, that teaches physicality is what the Rangers need. I know some people out there might want a coach that, is going to be this, guy that's supposed to, know everything and going to have a guy that's going to reel in all the best players. I want a coach that's going to teach physicality, and I want a coach that's going to be able to go out there, and when we play against teams that are physical, I want a coach that's going to teach us to fight back. David Quinn really did not do that with the New York Rangers. So David Quinn fired as Rangers head coach after 3 seasons with the team. The New York Rangers announced the firing of head coach David Quinn on Wednesday after 3 seasons with the team. The Rangers also announced the firing of assistant coaches David Oliver, Jaquez Morin, and Greg Brown. Quinn went 96, 87, and 25 in his 3 years with the Rangers, including a 27, 23, and 6 record this season, which left New York 11 points shy of a playoff spot. The Rangers hired Quinn in 2018 after missing the playoffs in 2017-2018 for the first time since the 2009-2010 campaign. New York parted ways with the accomplished Alain Vigneault in order to hire Quinn, but it was a move that ultimately didn't pay dividends. The Rangers went 32 and 36 and 14 in Quinn's first season at the helm before going 37, 28 and 5 last season. That would not have been good enough to get the Rangers into the playoffs under normal circumstances, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, but they did technically compete in the postseason. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic cutting the 2019-2020 season short, the top 12 teams in the Eastern Conference were part of the playoffs. New York's playoff run was short-lived, though, as it got swept in the qualifying round in 3 games by the Carolina Hurricanes. The Rangers were in the playoff hunt for much of this season, but playing in the stacked East Division, they could only manage a 5th-place finish. Quinn, 54, coached at multiple levels of professional and college hockey before taking the head job with the Rangers. Most notably, he was the head coach at Boston University from 2013-2018, leading the Terriers to the NCAA tournament on 4 occasions, including a trip to the national championship game in 2015, which they lost to Providence. The coaching change was expected with Chris Drury taking over as general manager, and whomever picks to succeed David Quinn will be inheriting a talented roster featuring forwards Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, Alexei Lafreniere, and Kaapo Kakko, defenseman Adam Fox, and goalie Igor Shesterkin. So, who does Chris Drury want to bring in? That's the big question. Does he want to bring in a coach that's very physicality? He keeps teaching physicality, or does he want to bring in a coach that's just kind of a smart guy, gonna come in here, do his job? Now, if I'm the Rangers, I think you gotta learn from this coach. With David Quinn obviously coaching at college and it hasn't worked out at the NHL level so far, I think you gotta take a coach with a lot of experience. That's how I see it, and more experience maybe with young guys. But this is a big coach. This is a big hire for the Rangers. This is big because the New York Rangers, right? We were in a rebuild and we were starting to come out of it. And not that we've taken a step back, but I don't really know if we've taken a step forward in the rebuild because it's one of those things where we went into the season, we had an okay year, we had our moments, and with David Quinn, it's almost like we got rid of him, got rid of our GM and team president, and you kind of sit here and you think like, okay, well, now you got to kind of wonder, not that we took a step back in the rebuild, but like, we got to get this coaching hire down. And that's what the Rangers got to do. And that's been one of the big questions is who are the Rangers going to take? Who's going to take over this Rangers job? That's going to be a big question because I think with the New York Rangers, it's going to be a lot of young talent. Who's going to be able to coach the young talent the best? That's the big question. And whoever comes in here, he's going to be asked to do a lot. He's going to be asked to help this young talent, get this team to the playoffs. I have an odd feeling next year is going to be a playoff mandate. We're going to have to make the playoffs next season. And whoever the coach comes in here, he's going to have to get it done. And Chris Drury's going to have to keep building this roster to get to the playoffs next season. So, the New York Rangers have a lot of decisions to make. I do like this move. You start fresh with a new coach. Let Drury bring in his own guy. And let's see where it goes throughout the offseason. So, the Rangers have fired David Quinn. That's what I got on that. And now we will head on over to the New York Sports Update. So, there's one app, by the way, before I do this. So, there's one app I have. It's Bleacher Report. Great app. I use it all the time. It's my main app. They do these fan polls, and it's these polls that you can vote. So, I'm currently right now voting on the East Division. So, Capitals Bruins, got to go with Capitals on that. And then Islanders Penguins, got to go with Islanders on that. Right? I think Islanders would win that. Wow. So that's the playoff for first round in the East. But, so it's like these things where you could press and whatever. It's like this fan poll thing, and they do it on a bunch of stuff. With the NFL draft, they did it too. Like each day, it was a team's mock draft. So you're in like these different like community thingies, and you're like, like I'm a Jets fan, so I'm in like the Jets fan community, you can kind of call it. So Jets are one of my favorite teams. So you can go into the community tab, and if you press on that, there's all these different polls that come up. Will this guy start? What about this guy? And you could just press. They come up like new ones every day. So that one was on the NHL playoffs. So it was who's going to win the Capitals-Bruins, I put Capitals, and who's going to win the Islanders-Penguins, I put Islanders. Now, I might be spoiling my bracket, but that's who I think will win. Anyway, back to the NBA and the New York sports update, or let's get into it. So as for the NBA yesterday, the Lakers won, Warriors won, Kings won, Bucks won, Pacers won, Grizzlies won, Heat won, Clippers won, Nuggets won, and Timberwolves won. Nets also won yesterday, 115-107. We moved to 45-24 on the season. Another big win for the Brooklyn Nets. KD led the way with 21 points. As for today's games, we got the Hawks-Wizards. I'll give Hawks the win. Celtics-Cavs, give Celtics the win. Mavericks-Pelicans, give Mavericks the win. Jazz-Trailblazers, give Jazz the win. And Lakers-Rockets, give Lakers the win. Nets also play today. Nets come in this game 45-24. Spurs come in this game 33-35. Nets are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 233 for this game. This game comes on today, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes 2. I'm going to give the Nets the win. Harden should be back. Let's keep the win rolling. Wins rolling. As for today in the NHL, or as for yesterday in the NHL, the Jets won and the Capitals won. And as for today, we got the Oilers Canadians. I'll give Oilers the win. Maple Leaf Senators give Maple Leafs the win. Sharks Golden Knights give Golden Knights the win. Avalanche Kings give Avalanche the win. And Wild Blues give Wild the win. Waiting for this to load. So, by the way, that London game is October 10th, which will be week 5 of the Jets season. I just got like an update on my phone, so. This is still loading. As for let's get into the games because I can remember some of the games that happened yesterday. As this is still loading here, let me try one more thing. So, as for yesterday's games in the MLB, the Yankees obviously got a solid win against the Rays. It's always good to get the job done against your rival, obviously. Okay, so here we go. So I got it up now. All right, so Dodgers, Mariners, Dodgers won yesterday. Diamondbacks won. Padres won. Cardinals won. White Sox won. Phillies won. Tigers won. Astros won. Blue Jays won. A's won. Pirates won. Indians won. Giants won. Mets won yesterday 3-2. They moved to 17-13 on the season. Mets are still rolling here. As for the Yankees also won yesterday 3-1. Yankees moved to 19-16 on the season. Big win. Monty with a great start, and Chapman finished the job. So, let's see here. All right. So as for today in the MLB, we got the Mets Orioles. I'll give Mets the win. Reds Pirates. I'll give Reds the win, and Cubs Indians. I'll give Cubs the win. Cubs to win. Let's see here. So, Padres, Rockies, I'll give Padres the win. Padres, Rockies again, I'll give, Darvish, Padres the win, both games. Then we got Phillies, Nationals, I'll give Phillies the win. Red Sox, A's, give Red Sox the win. Royals, Tigers, give Royals the win. Braves, Blue Jays, give Blue Jays the win. Brewers, Cardinals, give Brewers the win. Cheaters, Angels, I'll give Angels the win. Cheaters the win. White Sox, Twins, I'll give White Sox the win. Diamondbacks, Marlins, give Diamondbacks the win. Dodgers, Mariners, I'll give Dodgers the win there. Yankees also play today. Yankees coming in this game 19-16. Rays coming in this game 19-18. Garrett Cole's on the mound for the Yankees. Colin McHugh's on the mound for the Rays. McHugh's on the mound for the Rays. Cole's on the mound for the Yankees. This game comes on today, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find this game on Bally Sports Sun, and also you can also find this game on Yes Network. Cole's on the mound. I'll give the Yankees the win. If we hit like we did yesterday, I'll give them a win. Alrighty, as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 84-68. But today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Luke Voigt, Jake Cronenworth, Josh Donaldson, Carlos Correa, Marcus Simeon, Gene Segura, Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Victor Robles, Victor Robles, Jorge Soler, Dylan Carlson, and Alex Bregman. And Garrett Cole I've got going on the mound. Injury update is as followed. Yelich back is participating in all baseball activities. Will Salmon of The Athletic reports. So that's good news there. Team starting to get back to normal. As for fantasy basketball, I'm currently winning 1,884 to 1,868. The injury update's just insane. Kyrie's day-to-day. So, Kyrie face is questionable for Wednesday's contest against the Spurs. Ian Begley of Sportsnet New York reports. Alright, let's see. And then Kemba's out. Kemba Walker is out for rest Wednesday against the Cavaliers. John Carlos of BostonSportsJournal.com reports. I'm not even going to read the rest. There's so many. I've got an out, day-to-day, 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 out, day-to-day, out, day-to-day. This is unbelievable. I mean, the team just is... The team is just, it's just crazy. It is really just crazy how my team has gotten hit hard with the injuries in that. It really is. It's just so many injuries, which is tough because, it definitely hurt my season, all these injuries. I really can't do anything about it. The injuries, you could always make that famous line of, oh, you shouldn't have drafted all these guys, but at the same time, I didn't know the injuries were going to be like this, and if I did, I wouldn't have definitely not have drafted any of these players. So, but, obviously, I guess it is what it is, with all these injuries in fantasy basketball, but definitely hurt my season. As for, some of the players have helped my season. Have helped get wins, but anyway, as for Rangers, or Rangers Nation's my name in this, but as for fantasy hockey, I'm currently losing 339 to 286. Today I've made a roster move. I dropped Ryan Strome, and I added Jonathan Marchessault. Today I've got going Anzes Kopitar, Braden Shen, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, David Perron, Jonathan Marchessault, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Adam Larson, Justin Falk, and I've got Cam Talbot in goal. So, that's what I got going there. Obviously, still trying to, obviously come back in fantasy hockey. It's not going to be easy, but, you just gotta hope with some games left in the season, find a way to come back. Which is why I'm still adding some players. I know a lot of people have probably completely not even adding players anymore, but I'm still adding some of them just because some of these other teams have finished off their seasons. So, but anyway, with all that being said, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was another very good podcast in the books. Watch out today. Schedule will come out. Full schedule will come out 8 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network, so that should be exciting. And, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.